Achilles, the greatest warrior of Greek mythology, is a name synonymous with heroism, strength, and tragedy. His story, immortalized in Homer's Iliad, is not just about his unmatched prowess in battle, but also about his flaws, his humanity, and his ultimate fate. Today, we delve into the life of Achilles, the tragic hero of Troy, to uncover why his story still resonates thousands of years later. Achilles was born to Peleus, a mortal king, and Thetis, a sea goddess. From the moment of his birth, his destiny was extraordinary, yet shrouded in doom. According to legend, Thetis attempted to make Achilles invulnerable by dipping him in the river Styx, holding him by his heel. This act granted him near invincibility, except for the small spot on his heel that remained untouched by the water, the infamous Achilles heel that would later seal his fate. As a child, Achilles was tutored by the wise centaur Chiron, who taught him the arts of war, healing, and music. Even in his youth, Achilles was destined for greatness, but it was a greatness that came with a heavy cost. A prophecy foretold that he would either live a long, uneventful life or die young, but achieve eternal glory. For Achilles, the choice was clear. He would choose glory, even at the cost of his life. Achilles' legend truly begins with the Trojan War, sparked by the abduction of Helen by Paris, the Prince of Troy. Achilles joined the Greek forces reluctantly, as his mother had tried to prevent his participation, knowing the war would lead to his death. Disguised as a girl and hidden among the daughters of a king, Achilles was eventually discovered by Odysseus and persuaded to fight. The war was his stage, and Achilles would become its brightest, yet most tragic, star. In battle, Achilles was unstoppable. His skill with a spear, his speed, and his divine lineage made him a fearsome warrior. No one could match him in combat, and his victories struck fear into the hearts of the Trojans. But Achilles was more than just a warrior. He was a complex figure driven by pride, honor, and an intense loyalty to those he loved. This loyalty was most evident in his relationship with Patroclus, his closest companion and perhaps the greatest emotional connection in his life. When Patroclus donned Achilles' armor and led the Greeks into battle in his place, he was killed by Hector, the Trojan prince and Troy's greatest defender. Patroclus' death devastated Achilles. His grief turned into a burning rage, and he returned to the battlefield with a singular purpose: to avenge his fallen friend. What followed was one of the most dramatic moments in the Iliad. Achilles confronted Hector outside the walls of Troy. The duel was fierce, but Hector was no match for Achilles' wrath. Achilles killed him and, in a moment of rage and grief, desecrated Hector's body, dragging it behind his chariot. This act shocked even Achilles' allies and highlighted the depth of his anguish and the darker side of his heroism. But even in his anger, Achilles was not devoid of humanity. When King Priam, Hector's father, bravely entered the Greek camp to beg for his son's body, Achilles was moved by his plea. He showed compassion, returning Hector's body and allowing the Trojans to give their prince a proper burial. This moment revealed the duality of Achilles, a man capable of immense violence, but also of empathy and respect. Achilles' own death came soon after, as foretold by prophecy. During the war, Paris, aided by the god Apollo, shot an arrow that struck Achilles in his vulnerable heel, the only part of his body not protected by divine invulnerability. His death marked the beginning of the end for Troy, but it also immortalized him as a tragic hero, a man whose greatness was matched only by his flaws and whose life burned brightly but briefly. Achilles' story endures because it captures the essence of what it means to be human. His strength and bravery are inspiring, but his pride, anger, and grief make him relatable. He is a hero who is as much defined by his triumphs as by his tragedies. In Achilles, we see the tension between destiny and choice, between glory and mortality, and between the divine and the human. his legacy goes beyond the battlefield. Achilles represents the eternal struggle to balance ambition with humanity, to seek greatness while remaining true to oneself. His story reminds us that even the greatest heroes are not immune to loss and pain, and that true heroism lies not just in strength, but in the ability to confront one's own vulnerabilities. Achilles' name has become synonymous with invincibility and weakness, a paradox that reflects his complex character. From his invincible body to his vulnerable heel, from his moments of rage to his acts of compassion, Achilles embodies the duality of heroism. His story continues to inspire and teach us about the human condition, ensuring that his name, like the glory he sought, will live on forever.